MMA coach. I was wondering, if you're in the middle of a fight camp, how many days a week do you like to do your low intensity, steady state training, and how many sessions a week do you like to do your high intensity interval training?
That's actually a good question. So we're talking MMA here.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, MMA camp, off season, I want a little bit more of that low intensity list to build that aerobic base because there's less need for that HIIT, that interval type of sprint going on because we're not quite peaking yet. You're getting most of your off season work in the skill set range. You're creating new skills, enhancing new skills and such. That's where a lot of the time and the central nervous system investments going. We always want to keep that aerobic base from a restorative perspective, also from a regenerative perspective, teaching our body how to oxygenate the blood flow, which is very important. Also mobilizing some functional body mass. We keep that. So we're enhancing that aerobic base. In camp, we're looking to still have, I'd say, a minimum of 3, but closer to 5 of those LISS sessions. I'm not even mad if you want to hit a LISS session every day. You wake up, you hit fasted LISS, super hydrated, you come home, continue to hydrate, you have your breakfast bowl, you take an hour or 2 or 3, maybe have another meal and or a snack, and then you have a HIIT session. Now, HIIT session could be bag work, it could be pad work, it could be Dutch drilling. HIIT doesn't have to be on an Airdyne, a VersaClimb, or a Precore or on a track, right? It's just interval up, interval down, right? And any sort of round format is interval up, interval down on a 3-to-1 or a 5-to-1 ratio. We can start to look at that. We will play with that with our athletes. They'll do a HIIT session, but it'll be bag work only, controlled by the clock. 30 on, 30 off, power combos, endurance combos. Let the striking coach figure out what that is. We'll program that into it. Now, we have to look at the totality, Cody, of what your whole training system looks like, because if you're training wrestling, you're training jiu-jitsu, you're training judo, you're training Western boxing, you're training Muay Thai kickboxing, you're training strength and conditioning, maybe you're training some Sambo, maybe you're doing road work, and then you're throwing in sparring. Those are 9 separate modalities you're trying to train in a 7-day period, and most of those need to be trained more than once. So are you hitting all 9 of those modalities once a week, twice a week, 3 times per week? We really need to start to be aware of that because I didn't even mention LISS or HIIT. I just mentioned one single strength and conditioning session. So you have to look at the totality of what you're doing and intelligently incorporate your training blocks based upon your ability to recover. This is where, again, we go back to an individualized perspective. Now, I want to see that aerobic base 3 to 5 days a week, 6 or 7, even better. I want to see some high intensity interval training. I want to see some high intensity resistance based training. I also need to see the skill set training, the skill development. You got to be striking twice a week, grappling twice a week, submitting twice a week, sparring, touch sparring, Dutch drills. We can have that conversation once to twice per week without head trauma built in. So it's a much more context conversation, but I will say walking will never be a detriment. Now, some athletes, they don't walk because they're lazy, because they think, oh, I'm a pro athlete, I make $2,000 a fight, I'm a pro athlete. That's not a pro athlete. It's not a pro athlete. A pro athlete is someone who completely covers all their bills only with that sport. That's a professional. You got to be making $50K a year, or so to be a pro, because you get paid a little bit. That doesn't make anyone a pro. And Cody, this is, I'm going a little sideways here, but I see this a lot. I come across this a lot. A lot of the people I deal with, they all think that walking is some sort of throwaway when that's their biggest detriment. They don't have the proper aerobic base because they don't perform these lower intensity aerobic threshold exercises as often enough, as consistently enough. And they have a shitty aerobic base, which is why they gas out. It's why they fatigue. That's why they get tired. They don't have that gear. It's unavailable. They don't have that foundation. So again, to kick back to you, Tony, one last time, man, I'd say no less than 3 ever, ideally between 4 and 6. Depending on how much you're actually doing in your given week. Now, granted, we want you getting 9 hours of sleep per night every night. If that's not possible, then you simply have to go to bed sooner to wake up earlier so you can get your ass out on the road and get that LISS in.
Okay, and like when you say 3 to 5 times a week, do you prefer like jogging to walking,
Walking.
or cycling, or
Yep.
just walking?
Walking, keeping your heart rate ideally down below 110 beats per minute, because once you get above 110, you're switching over to a glycolytic activity. Now you're burning glucose stored as glycogen. We've switched off the aerobic base. We're trying to keep it completely aerobic. We're staying inside that zone. You're glycolytic all fucking day long. You're overtrained glycolytically most of the time, undertrained aerobically.
Okay, and the last thing I wanted to ask was like fight week. Are you continuing to do that? And when is the last time that you're going to do a high intensity training session?
Good question. I appreciate it. Fight week, it's every day. Fight week, we're listening all day, every day. Fight week, we're waking up. First thing we do when we wake up, have water. It depends on the athlete, man. I work with all athletes all times. They pray 12 times a day. They never fucking pray. They watch porn all day. It's such extreme chaos, right? We deal with. Athlete wakes up. They ease into their day the way that they do, some stretch, whatever it's going to be. Read the book, call their wife, whatever it's going to be. Play the stocks, trade, whatever it's going to be. They wake up, they get that personal time, they down 16 ounces of room temperature water. Hopefully they get it upwards to 32 ounces of room temperature water. They throw in a little bit of espresso or black coffee or green tea or black tea. They get that little bit of thermogenic bump. About an hour or so later, I knock on the door, we go downstairs, we go outside depending on the terrain. We get 30 to 60 minutes of LISS, low intensity, steady state cardiovascular activity, while fasted in the absence of insulin. This is very important, even during fight week. We keep that up. I want them to be dressed. I want them to get warm. I want them to lose a little bit of water weight and keep that going while drinking. I don't care that they're lighter when they step off the treadmill. I just care that they're sweating. They're purifying their system. They're drinking that water continuously. And usually I'll spike the water with some fresh squeezed lemon or lime, or put some strawberries into it, or some chia seeds, or whatever, raw honey, whatever it might be, right? So we're hitting that almost every day. That becomes our primary exercise during fight week. Now, this is where I alluded to, I have a little bit of a challenge with some of, coaches. And I'm not mad at them, but it's a difference of opinion. A lot of coaches, they want their athletes to train during fight week. That doesn't make sense to me. You're cutting weight. You don't have the calories to spare. You're weak, you're tired, you're brittle, you're fragile. You're creating a caloric deficit. You have high levels of stress and anxiety. Doesn't make sense. Going hard doesn't make sense. Taking that, that deep breath, deflecting. Remember that deflection point. The more dehydrated you are, the lower that deflection point is. Instead of deflecting at 168, you might deflect at 138. Right? So all of a sudden now you feel like shit. You're weak. You're getting thrown around by the guy you beat up all camp, a weight class below you, who feels this fucking like an ox. All this stuff, every athlete here is nodding their head. You know exactly how that feels. I don't know why coaches do that. And they don't give me an answer, because this is what we've always done. There is no athletic basis for this. This is not part of peaking. This is an old wives' tale, right? So it's a departure from science. Now, what we want to do is we want passive. We want easy. Now, we'll talk about the fight. We know we're going to have a skill session tonight. All the coaches, the athlete, we're going to get around. We're going to sit on the balcony. We're going to sit on the pad. That's what I want to do. Man, we're going to go look at the skyline. We're going to order espressos and Pellegrino waters. We're going to sit here like a bunch of businessmen, right? A bunch of executives. And we're going to talk. We're going to have a board meeting. We're going to talk about strategy here. That's what I want. Passive. Everyone's in their street clothes, right? Feeling good, people watching. That's what it should be. Not in a fucking dark, dank gym with your plastics on, your pads on, feeling like fucking garbage, getting beat up by a kid who's not even in your class, simply because you're peaking. The most important day is competition day, not Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of fight week, when your calories are coming down, your weight's coming down, your anxiety's going up, the demands are going up, right? You got your fucking cousin's brother's sister who's calling you trying to get fucking free tickets or whatever else nonsense is going on. You got all this other shit to deal with. I'm not going to lace up right now. For what purpose? I fucking did that shit for the last 12 weeks. Now, the last hard session, the Saturday a week before, we want to have something hard, some sort of interval. I like a Shark Tank, but without partners. I like a station Shark Tank. I want your wrestling coach. I want your jiu-jitsu coach. I want your striking coach. I want them to be the ones who touch you, who move you. I want them to put you in positions. I want to see, maybe some elastic bands, maybe some plyo, maybe some med ball slams, pap, 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 hitting, pads, fucking big takedowns, whatever. We're just running the heart rate up and down safely. We're not going to hurt you. We're just going to get those energy systems. We're going to work those energy systems, and your head coach is working on their strategy, telling you what to do, and you're doing that in real time. That's what we're trying to do. That's what I like to see. Protecting the athlete, right? 7 days out, this is Saturday, and then maybe something on Monday. You get on a plane Monday or Tuesday at the UFC level, wherever it's going to be. Monday should be the last technical drill workout, usually good 15 to 30 minute easy athletic warm up. Then you get your skill specific warm up, and then you walk through the fight at about 30%, maybe. Walk through the fight, you clean some things up, you sit with your coach, you work on, the angle of the arm bar, the where to slide into that side choke, how to step off that jab, feint, body kick, whatever it's going to be. 30% activity level, you just touch it, you're building confidence, you feel fucking good, you're ready to go, you shut it down, you're like, man, I could do more. Good. Take your gear off, get some food in you, go pack, you're done. That's what I want to see. And then you got 4 days until you fucking peak and whip someone's ass. It's very hard to see MMA athletes that don't deload. They don't understand a deload. The deload starts 10 days out, right? Approximately 3 weeks to 10 days out. That's when a traditional deload should start. They don't. They ramp up intensity and volume all the way through past the scale. That makes no sense. 2-a-days? I remember, I won't say the name, UFC, I forget the city I was in. The main event athlete, it was at 2:05. The main event athlete is on the treadmill Wednesday night before a Friday weigh-in, and the athlete's coaches are screaming at the athlete in plastic bags, heavy suits, on an incline on some crappy hotel treadmill. Highest up the incline could go, and they just keep making it go faster and faster, and the athlete's like, bump, like falling all over the place. You're, cursing at the athlete as if they're, not a man, right? Manly enough. The athlete then takes a wrong step, falls, slides off the treadmill, ends up on the floor. Get back up there. You gotta win this fight. You're gonna win this fight. I'm looking, I was like, you guys are fucking idiots. And he gets his ass kicked on 2 days later. Looks like shit on the scale, gets his ass kicked slow, lethargic, can't really take a shot. Small shots are ringing his bell a little bit. His team fucking ruined him. Pardon my language, I get so passionate. I see this stuff all the time. So that's the opposite. Why was that athlete doing that? That athlete probably didn't lose 2 pounds in that whole terrible traumatic session. Where in 25 minutes, I could take that athlete, have him lose 3 to 5 pounds, hanging out in the hot tub talking about chicks. Or whatever else, or stamps, or whatever else it might be, whatever else they're passionate about. That's the difference. It's so common sense, and it's so rare, unfortunately. But this is what happens. I'm telling you guys the fucking truth. I'm pulling back the curtain. This is the truth. This is the way we do it with 100% success ratio, and the way everybody else does it, and their athletes get sent to the fucking hospital. Look like shit, fall off treadmills. Crazy. Hopefully that helps, Cody.
That did. Thanks, Coach.
Right on, brother.